Let's just play it like this. I'm sure it's worthless, but no harm holding on to it. Perhaps the vampire will appreciate my help in tidying up. I try and fail to hold back a yawn that makes my entire body shudder. The bloom of sunlight fixed in the sky, though refreshing to see, also serves a reminder of how much time has passed, of how little sleep I've gotten. There won't be a better time to get some rest. I look about the chamber one final time, to be so surrounded by various furnishings in a mystifying sort of torture. Despite how all the nights of sleeping on the ground have left me, wait, I'm gonna change, because the music's gone. Like, I'm sorry, what happened? Oh. The vampire needs only to close the curtains to accost me in my sleep. I love how paranoid she is. Back outside I go. The days are long this time of year. I'll have plenty of time to try climbing the ledge when I wake. I grab a decorative pillow from a sofa. It's not much, but it will make my cobblestone bed a little more bearable. I retrace my steps through the estate and practically collapse into my first ring of sunlight I find. I wake from a dreamless, restless slumber into the cold of evening. Sitting up with a jolt, I scan the sky with mounting dismay. Sundown again already. How could I have slept for so long? The clenching ache in my bones and blossoming bruises on my skin reveal the answer to my unspoken question. That's good. My stamina is spent. I won't be able to run the way I did yesterday. No, damn it. They're reaching for me, streaking across the ground like long claws. And speaking of claws, from the shade nearby, the vampire looks down at me with a flat displeasure. My fingers curl instinctually around the fire iron. You're still here, on the ground no less. Where else would I be? Why, I figured you would have climbed onto the roof, run some mental calculus to determine the best angle of approach, and then leapt into the moat to swim to freedom. A peep passes as I stare at him. Yes, that would be very practical, but anyone who tries it would surely splatter against the rocky ledge below. Perhaps. And even if they make it to the water, they would discover the alligators in the moat. Alligators, really? She's like, I can't swim anyway. No, what the hell? I think I liked you more when you were menacing me about what crimes I'd committed. She disliked the taste of her own medicine. Shocking. He folds his arms behind his back as he paces around me, and very aware that he can grab and drag me into the shadows if he so desires, but he's choosing not to. You never did tell me what you did to get sent here. You're right, I didn't. We stare at each other now, sharing an ugly pause. I love how awkward this is. But I apologize for my behaviour last night and for making a mess. Truly. He looks as though he's expecting a punchline. Yes, truly, I don't know what it is like to own the state, but I'm sure it's dreadful having someone run for it. Indeed. Here. Will you tell me what you're planning to do with my fire iron? What? This old thing? I could lie to him, but I see little point in it. Well, I've developed a skill for enthralling an audience with tall tales. It's not as if I can trick them into believing my stories are real. Unless they're children, of course, and the pacing vampire hasn't seemed terribly childlike thus far. In any case, I'm not a good liar. When one is not a good liar, honesty is by far the better policy. If you leapt at me, I would have tried to swing it at you. But I also thought I could use it as a handhold to get over the ledge. I cannot begrudge you for your caution against me, but using a fire iron as a handhold. Really, the ledge is made of solid stone. What is old, isn't it? Surely the stone has weathered down over the years. But most certainly has not. You'd begrudge me for trying everything at my disposal. I might if you ruin my fire iron in the process. You need not try such inventive tactics if you agree to barter with me. Right, yes, about that. I'll have you know I'm extremely well travelled. How informed are you about recent history and new discoveries throughout the world? Is she just gonna lie to him with all these tales? What makes you think I'd be interested in such things? You mentioned you were open to trading knowledge. I remember it like it was just yesterday. Oh, really? Every 2 years I receive a new guest at my estate. Each guest has some capacity to tell me news of the outside world. I have previously offered their freedom in exchange, but hearing news of the outside world loses its appeal when one is not welcome to participate in it. I mean, I can see that. Poor vampire. But some men and women have nothing else to give. Surely you would not deprive this opportunity from a future guest when you have more to offer than this. My loot feels heavy against my back. What else can I offer that amounts to the price of my freedom? Please, I can't give it to you. He scoffs at me. Just when I thought you were seeing sense. But I may yet be amendable as you have been to me. Last night, I hadn't fully understood that you play music as your primary profession, not at first. My recent slew of guests have been cutthroats and highwaymen. I forget they've also housed scientists and artists. Oh, what did they get done for? I presume you must be good at your craft as such. You need your loot more than I do. The sudden and unexpected empathy leaves me speechless. He takes my silence as permission to continue. I ought to also admit it has been a very long time since someone has told me no. It irritates me to hear, but it is within your right to say, forgive me for making it seem otherwise. As if our cordial conversation hasn't been astonishing enough, the vampire inclines his head towards me. You're forgiven, but wouldn't everyone have thought you to be better to the bitter end? I imagine there must have been several no's sprinkled in there. He chuckles wryly. When properly bound and restrained, one's capacity to fight to the bitter end is quite limited. I expect this lends itself to making my guests more amenable to negotiations, and to giving me anything I should desire. Oh, he really wasn't expecting me to break free of my bonds. Enough of this matters. I propose we approach this from a new angle. What do you want, mortal? If freedom has no strong appeal for you, perhaps you'd be more interested in power and immortality. I don't miss the saccharine way he says the last word. No, I'm fairly sure I do want freedom. I can't imagine what price I'd have to pay for the other two. My stomach growls, but I could do with some food. Food? Food. Even if I get out of here, the nearest village is miles away. I won't get far on an empty stomach. You would ask a vampire to feed you. A marvelously modest start to a negotiative relationship. Your empty stomach shall be filled. I shall have a surplus of blood lying around his... Wait, what? I'm joking. I'm not so old that I've forgotten what morsels eat. Could you imagine? She's just like... He begins to lead the way. I struggle to my feet, but have enough difficulty steadying myself that he pauses and turns to observe me. I don't mind him, but I hate his voice, as bad as that sounds. I don't know what it is, but it just cuts through me anyway. And it's just cringe. I end up using the fire iron to help me maintain my balance, like a metal walking stick. Although I feel like a lot of when people voice act, this is very common sort of it's very common for them to sound like that, or to be like that cringy, you know? I just get secondhand embarrassment. You did not just say that. You look pitiful. Oh wait, did I not read that? I end up using a fire iron to help me maintain my balance like a metal walking stick. You look pitiful. I'm sure my apologies for not being the picture of grace after a 9-day hike with slave-driving guardsmen. Now, where exactly do you plan on taking me? The vampire is kind enough to slow his pace and walk with me in parallel tandem, although he stays in the shadows and I in the waning light. You are astoundingly paranoid. I'm taking you somewhere I can feed you like we agreed. You mean to feed on me, don't you? No? He says it with such disgust that I gave at him, taken aback. I don't even begin to act offended. Have you looked at yourself? Rude. Filthy, dragged through prison cells so much. Your taste most certainly will be foul. I bite back a retort about how I'm supposed to taste. More importantly, you're really not going to kill and eat me ever. Covered in muck as you are, I have no desire to touch you. You doubt me? I don't know, it sounds like you'll attack me the moment I'm clean. And I can't get a read on you. Maybe it's your fetish to lure your victims into a false sense of security. Nice. How easily you remark on a stranger's fetishes. I agree. I had my suspicions that you were a traveller, but I'm certain now you could not have been raised in Illuvia. Ah yes, beautiful Illuvia, kingdom of ungrateful prudes. They don't appreciate me here at all. I'm quite certain they did not. You may have a seat and wait here, though I can't guarantee the chairs won't bite. Very funny. He smirks a little at that, though he turns as if to hide it. The kitchen is nearby, it won't be long. I caught a glimpse of his kitchen during my exploration last night. I noticed it was stocked with well-loved pans and utensils, but I never imagined that meant he used them with any frequency. I expect you'll stay put, woefully wounded as you are. If you wander off and I can't find you, I'll have to deposit your meal into the moat. Ah, very well, I'll take my adventurous spirit for the time being. Wouldn't want your imaginary alligators to be fed in my place. You're catching on, good girl. I hate the fact that he says good girl, like, it's unnecessary, okay? True to his word, the vampire returns in short order. He sets a tray loaded with roasted roots and grilled perch. Before me, a simple enough meal, but one of the most beautiful sights I've seen in recent memory. It's not a plate of blood. It is not. Shall I switch it out for you? No, I'll be quiet. I reach for a fork and slice into my fish, excited to save my first meal in days. I take the first bite and it's awful. Some of the prisoner's slop tasted better than this burnt, over-salted tragedy. Even stranger, I taste hints of cinnamon, garlic, and coffee. At this point, I have no idea what I'm eating, but I'm too hungry to stop. I must have outdone myself. Don't forget to breathe. Mortals need air in their lungs, I hear. It is delicious, isn't it? My fork forces against my lips. She's like, yeah, God's is. Oh, lie through. Let's just lie. Very well done, Sir Vampire. Like you've bathed the fish itself in heavenly ambrosia. Ah, I forgot to add sauce. Hard to come by such things. I stockpile what little I have. The complete lack of sauce gives it a very unique flavour. Unique, you say? The vampire watches me finish my next bite, eyes narrowed. No matter, I care not what you think of my cooking. His lower lip is unmistakably jetted into a small pout, but I don't get to see it for long. Now that I've given you a meal, will now give me something I want in return. Why do you keep insisting on these inane little trades? He shrugs his shoulders at the touch of derision. It is in my nature, nothing ventured, nothing gained, no service without a cost. Fine, vampire, can I interest you in a song? Yeah, he arches a brow and says nothing, but I can tell I've piqued his interest. I've seen your books, all practicality, no whimsy. It must have been some time since you'd last heard a compelling story. I shift my lute into my arms, strumming it. Once for intrigue, a tempting little preview. Very well, Bard, a song in exchange for the meal. I lower my gaze to my lute, heaving a sigh I didn't know I was holding. God, I just have to play a single song. It's a simple request, one I've fulfilled thousands of times over in several dozen taverns, but the thrill of anticipation is making my fingers jitter. Just yesterday, I was grimly certain that I would never perform again. Now I'm performing for the vampire who was supposed to tear me to shreds. Beautiful. That'd be a great story. I trace a fingernail over a single string. Then I pluck at each string sequentially, testing and tuning in turn, and then I begin to play. The vampire, until now has perpetual proclivity for pacing, slows and pauses mid-step to watch me with his hands folded on a writing table. My voice turns into the best weapon I've ever wielded, stronger and sharper than any knife or fire iron. Notes trickle from my lungs, through my throat, and pour from my lips into a song that floods the room with a tale most forlorn. The ballad I've chosen starts melancholy. It follows a young man as life takes from him. His father is the first to be taken, life cut short by a plague. His betrothed the next, abandoning him for a wealthier man. When he's brutally muggled or left dead, he feels as though his last remains of peace have been torn to shreds. I agree. He finds himself alone, left behind, forgotten. His mind is swallowed whole by rage and grief and self-loathing, until one day he decides it's his turn to take. He takes the torch to the stables of his former betrothed. He takes a noble woman's heart with false oaths and pretty words. He takes the world by storm, moulding it like wet sand to fulfill his every desire. When I finish the song, I offer the vampire a small bow. Throughout the entire performance, his gaze clung to me like a fawn, never once wavering from my body. What a wretched protagonist. You don't like it? It's one of my most requested tavern songs. How baffling to hear that human men find inspiration in an egocentric finale. There's a version of this song with a female protagonist. It's not always requested by men. Another unexpected revelation. Although I find the song's message disagreeable, I would concede that you sung it well. Oh, I thank you. We last in a brief silence, not quite looking at each other. To my surprise, he's the one who speaks next. This estate, I often forget what it's like to have more than the sound of my own thoughts and of cedars. You can't say that word, but yeah. Crying in the night. With nothing to interrupt the passage of immortality, silence can be maddening. How much do you earn at these taverns of yours? How many songs did it take for you to afford the instrument of that quality? How many songs? I've never thought of it that way. It doesn't really work like that. I look down at my lute, running my fingers over its surface. It was given to me, which means I never actually had to pay for it, but I don't need to share that with him. Sometimes I compose original songs on commission, which is more time consuming, but affords me more gold. As for crowd work, a classic in a well-stocked bar on a good night would net me several dozen coppers and a handful of gold. I suppose it amounts to 100 songs or so, if I combine the two. Of course, saving up for an artisan instrument would take even longer. Yes, 100 songs, you say. 100 songs over 100 nights, and I will ensure you have food, hygiene, and eventual safe passage from the estate to like 3 months in a bit. Hygiene? But if I'm clean, you'll want to suck my blood. Then you can be clean in the day and dirty yourself up in the night if it pleases you. Do what you will. His words hang in the air between us like a haze. Despite the numerous opportunities he's had to hurt me, he hasn't laid a hand on me all night. If my safety really is guaranteed, it's a tempting deal to take. Besides, it's not like I have many other options. Just as long as you'll let me go, you won't try to steal my loot while I sleep. You take me for a common thief, how dare you? Such an appalling accusation when you can clearly see I still have all my fingers. The vampire raises his hands for me to see. The familiarity of the gesture is uncanny. It seems to me that a powerful vampire like you can recover from serious wounds in an instant. You could once have been amputated at the elbow for all we know. Speaking of vampires, I seem to recall a legend that suggests your kind can't cross running water. Which means you can't leave the estate either, can you? I'm curious to know what crime you committed to be sent here. Enough, I await your song tomorrow. He stands to leave. Good night, sweet prince. Don't let the bedbugs bite. I hope you see me in your nightmares. Brushy. Oh no. Good night, sweet prince. You realize I'm not going to sleep. I just no longer wish to be in your company. Then I heard the bedbugs bugs do about you. She's so, annoying. Keep speaking that way and there may be more biting than you bargained for, mortal. Okay. I clap my mouth shut. Isn't that funny, though? He strides to the nearest window. Okay. Like before, he erupts into mist and takes off into the night in the shape of a bat, but this time he led me the half-finished plate of unsourced fish. Yeah. Some lovely fish with coffee, cinnamon, and mint. Okay, we're on chapter 4. How many chapters are there? Do what you will. Do what you will. The vampire said. Was reluctant to believe it when he gave me free roam of the estate, but he since made no move to impede me. Was allowed to wander wherever I pleased. I discovered little of notes, just more books and the continued absence of dust. Nothing more suspicious than the errant scrap of paper from my first night. Wait, let's save it, shall we? The empty slot. There we go. And then... Wait, what's history? Let's see that. Oh, okay. Despite the best effort to distrust him, the vampire only appeals to feed me some disgusting fish and claim his songs. He stays long enough to make wry commentary sometimes. The small talk other times, but in physical proximity he's given me a wide berth. Song poof. He's polite enough, I suppose, and utterly uninterested in causing me harm. That was enough to move me from a cobblestone bed to a cushioned one. The days soon blend together like the colours of sunset. Other than my fading bruises and brief performances, there's little to mark the passage of time. The monotony of our routine sways my feelings of weariness into restless puzzling. Questions swirl my mind like locusts, and my aimless wandering doesn't yield enough fruit to feed them. I'd like to sate my burning curiosity by interviewing my vampire. Wait, she's already calling him my vampire? Okay. A bit personal. But I'm not sure how to approach him when he vanishes after my song's final notes. Besides, I still have every reason to sleep with the firearm wedged under the door handle. Every so often I'm startled awake by blood-curdling screams. I ventured out from my room more than once, fire iron in one hand and my dagger in the other. I tracked the noise up many flights of steps, worried I would stumble upon the vampire feasting on an unlucky traveller who washed up by the river. Then I would stand at the foot of his coffin for a time, waiting to hear signs of struggle, waiting to see pools of blood oozing across the floor, but I always met with an eerie, unmoving silence. I went back to sleep with my bed pushed against the door each time, determined to keep out whoever or whatever was making these horrible sounds. Although I'm sure I would have run into them by now if anyone else is living in the estate, one can never be too careful. Still, as harrowing as those noises might have been, sleeping in a natural bed is incredible. I've started to feel pampered. The food still leaves much to be desired. but I have pillows, blankets, and the softest pelt carpet on my floor. The creepy estate is undubitably better than camping with stinky Shirley guardsmen and sleeping on the ground. It's a hassle to shift my bed to and from the door, but I think it's a small price to pay. Brisk, invigorating air fills my lungs as I step into the courtyard. A shiver scuffles across my spine as I settle into dewy grass. I position my strong writing journal in my lap, having recently freed it from my clothes with some careful incisions. I always get lost in thought when I turn its pages. The act of deciding on a song makes my heart swell with calm contentment. After choosing one of my older pieces, a spirited melody I wrote when I was younger, I wrap my lute over my shoulders and begin to practice. My performances occurred in crowded areas before I came here. I had to compete with the clamour of moving people, from passerby to raucous drunks, I think is what that was supposed to be. I don't even know. Here in the grass, I find myself not needing to fight for coin or attention. I can focus on my music, and nature itself is my ensemble. I sing softly, timing my rhythm with the shifting trees and the gurgles of the moat. I'd like to imagine my notes, quiet though they are, carrying far into a forest, reverberating down mountains, performing without an audience. My pulse quickens, startled by the sudden voice. My fingers slip, the next strum is decadently off-key. I squint skywards, trying to make out shapes in the darkness. Reclined across a brick parapet overhead, the vampire stares down at me with his usual flat expression. I slam my journal shut and hide it behind my back. Did you mean to sneak up on me? You'll have to try harder than that if you want to catch me off guard. It's an easy, soundless motion. The vampire drops to the ground like a falling feather. He saunters towards me, eyes glimmering like diamonds in the dark. I can assure you that if I were to try harder at such a thing, he would not wish to be the recipient of my attention. And I'll have you know that I was here first. Ah, then I suppose I've disturbed you. I didn't mind. His reply was faster and more decisive than I anticipated, and my heart hammers harder against my ribs. Does she have a crush on this guy? What is this fear? Am I really afraid of a speedy retort? Ridiculous. In a vain attempt to hide weakness, I hover my hand over my chest. No, I suppose you wouldn't mind a free ballad. Shouldn't you be hibernating in the rafters this time of night? I don't normally perform for another hour or two. Not tonight. He gestures to the night sky. The moon above us looks swollen, rounder and larger than I remember ever seeing it. Even so, it is a mere full moon, really so impressive. I part my lips to express my thoughts when a warm shadow inches across the moon's surface, spreading from its left side like a cocoon around a caterpillar. Soon the moon is as red as the sunset, a glowing rosy marble anchored in the night sky. A blood moon, a total lunar eclipse, is the technical term, though you may call it what you like. It only occurs 3 times a year. The people of Illivia insist that a blood moon is a bad omen, and seeing one during my travels was a foreboding sight. Yet the vampire watches the moon with such earnest intensity, I fear his admiration for it is contagious. It's beautiful. What does it mean for you? Are you the most powerful whilst it lasts? The vampire barks out a small surprised laugh, and his eyes cut away from the stargazing to glance at me. No, not at all. He folds his arms behind his back. I enjoy the view. The parapet is the best spot to observe the heavenly bodies in the sky. The ground is a close second, The vampire tilts his head, watching me with an expression I've never seen him wear before. Confused guilt. What is it? My hand twitches, ready to seize the dagger at my belt. No. I've been referring to you as Bard and Mortal all this time. I don't believe I ever asked for your name. She's like, it's about time. Ah. I rest my hand over my lute, relaxing somewhat. You're right, we yelled at each other in our first meeting in the hall, and never even introduced ourselves. You can call me Abigail. Beautiful name. We can go with Kuno. Let's go. Kuno, yes, it suits you. Does it? He smiles at me enigmatically. You can call me Lucius. Lucius, his name weighs on my tongue like a stone. I never imagined myself learning it. With how often he alluded to his immortality, it slipped my mind that he must have been a human man once. It's a humbling thought. Moreover, this is the longest amount of time we spent without the distraction of music or bartering. He's even feeling affable enough to learn my name. I should try asking him my questions. I may not get a better chance than this. Lucius, if I ask you some questions, will you insist on making it a barter? The vampire doesn't respond for a while. It depends on the question. I suppose that's fair. How about this? You don't have to answer the question if you don't want to. I can move on to the next one. And we'll talk for as long as you're willing to entertain me. Now I'm the one entertaining you, and as the generous cost of nothing. What an amusing turn of events. I'm surprised you're so eager to talk to me. I believe you said something about the maddening silence of eternity. I've begun to understand what you meant. Okay, I see. Ask a question then, Kuno. I will not ask for you to trade your possessions, but I may like to quell my own curiosity in exchange. He agreed. I wet my lips with anticipation. There's something, this noise. It sounds like screaming. That doesn't sound much like a question. She's like, I'm getting at it. I'll rephrase. What? The source of the noise will not hurt you. It's now your turn to answer my question. The haste with which Lucius changes the topic is unexpected, but not altogether unwelcomed. He did sate my curiosity to a degree. Tell me something, as a bard, what do you know of the stars? A simple question that leads to a comprehensive answer. Wise play, vampire. I observed the pinpricks of light above us, winking in and out of the mauve colour of night. I don't remember the last time I relaxed enough to admire them before my arrival here. Looking at the stars meant I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I needed to watch my own back, keep myself safe and alive. Though I sang of beauty and adventure, it seemed pointless to actually indulge in such things. I was far more focused on where I could lay my head or earn my next coin. How strange to be able to indulge in stargazing now with the vampire standing nearby. I traced different patterns in the sky, moving with practiced ease between each dot. The horned serpent always points north. Even as its body shifts, its tail will tell you where you've been, where you must go. Ah yes, the horned serpent. Anything else? It's harder to navigate using the others, but I know a few stories. This box-shaped cluster is the treasure trove of the goddess Melandronol. Supposedly it contains every possession humans have lost throughout their lives, and I draw my finger between the 7 brightest stars in the sky. There's the first king's crown. That's the first king's crown, sorry. The stories say he bequeathed it to the heavens, an offering to the gods to keep his bloodline on the throne. It's actually funny, Alluvia hasn't had a king in centuries, and it most certainly isn't his bloodline anymore. It seems that gods played a nasty trick on him, and Lucius chuckles. It's such a low and abrupt sound that I lose my train of thought. They may have indeed. Watch him be like the last king or some bullshit, I bet you. Kuno, may yet know a story that you do not know. Shall I share it with you? I arch my eyebrow at that. Who says I don't know the story? You're being unfair, vampire, making me play guessing games. Lucius, right, you're being unfair, Lucius. And tell me, Kuno, do you know of the story of when the stars first appeared? She's like, nah, there's a story behind that. Aside from the idea that each one was placed in the sky by the gods, I suppose I didn't know this one after all. I knew it. don't gloat. Are you going to share the story with me or not? He lets out another low chuckle before he dies to continue. I suppose no one knows for certain how the stars were created, but one of my guests shared with me a tale from his homeland. Unlike the self-serving stories Olivia dictates to his children, his kingdom believes that humans were not always a fixture in our realm. He believed that once, a very long time ago, the world existed in an endless night, a quiet, pitch-black quilt of eternity, unbroken by castle spires and bonfire smoke. When humans began roaming the earth, they would hold their newborns up to see the divine darkness. The stars above them dotting the skies in this peacefully lonely world were believed to befriend these infants and provide protection. The stars were there when we first arrived, and they will persist long after we are gone. This is what he believed, thus watching the night skies when we are closest to glimpsing what it was like at the beginning of the world and what it will be at its end. Oh gods, did your guest earn his freedom with this story? I would have given it to him, yes. His cryptic phrasing gives me pause, and Lucius falls quiet. His gaze remains transfixed on the sky. Meanwhile, I am having trouble tearing my eyes from him. And from the melancholy he wears like a heavy cloak. I don't know how I ever could have missed it before, because I think that sadness has always been there. The more time I spend here, the harder it becomes to see him as the monster Olivia led me to believe he was. Perhaps that's what makes him dangerous, or perhaps... I shiver again, rubbing my arm as a breeze whisks through my hair and clothes. Lucius turns promptly away from the sky, clicking his tongue at me. If you are cold, head inside. It will be challenging to play a lute with icicles for fingers. No, I'd like to stay out here a little longer. Monsters aren't supposed to watch the sky and tell you stories about where the stars come from. Monsters aren't supposed to spare your life and cook disgusting fish for you. The wrongness of my perception of him is eating away at me. I need to ask him, were you human once, Lucius? How? It doesn't take him long to pick up where I trail off. How did I turn into this? No, He holds up his hand to tell me. He's not bothered by the exact phrasing of the question. I was human once, and in many ways I still am. Lol. You're well aware of the standard method of vampiric infection. I'm sure, but be bitten by one makes their blood with your own. Then there's usually some manner of death or near-death experience, but then voila, you're a ravenous immortal of the night. Beautiful. But I suspect you're also aware that I was not created in the same way as others have been. I'm quite alive rather than undead, and I have no sire or coven to compel my allegiance. I was not aware of all that, but from his subtext I gather that the blood-curdling screams aren't coming from another vampire. Good to know. Additionally, as I hope you've noticed, I have not lost my morality to bloodlust. It was your most likable trait during our wayward first meeting. Good. He catches himself as if he didn't mean to agree with me before he shakes it off. Just as humans have notable differences, not all vampires are the same. But the people of Alluvia are keenly familiar with the ferocity of vampire spawn, who routinely raid their homes and eat their children. I do not blame Alluvians for believing the worst of me by proxy, though I do find an occasional amusement in the things they say. Tell me, Kuno, what tales are the good people spinning about me these days? Or better yet, have you any theories of your own? Theories of my own? I don't think so. I've heard bits and pieces of vampire lore, but I've never felt the need to speculate. I've never even seen a vampire before I met Lucius. There are all sorts of legends about you, but some are more akin to tall tales. People refer to you as a sort of ominous presence or a natural disaster. As for how you were created, as you say, one of the guardsmen who captured me, he believed you stole from the gods. Did I? I'm impressed with myself. How did I manage such a feat? They said you broke into Churchill's wine cellar and drank your fill. As punishment, the gods cursed you with a ferocious appetite for the blood of your own people. I've said before that I'm not a thief, but overindulging in wine does sound like something I do. I'd always had a fondness for reds. Any other thoughts? You're what happens when a man mates with a bat. You dealt with demons. Oh my god, that's hilarious. But that's... that one. You dealt with demons? Ah yes, demons, affable creatures I hear. Very keen on bartering the very moment you meet them, unlike someone I know. And strangely like someone else we both know. It's well known that demons offer immortality in exchange for a steep price. I wonder what you traded, Lucius, if you truly did deal with demons. He smirks at me and elects not to respond. You tricked me into another guessing game, you know? Are you going to tell me the truth, or will you keep goading me to recite absurd theories? His white fangs gleam when he smiles, reflecting against starlight. Like, it's actually quite like a... It's an okay story. It's like, it's not sad. It is sort of impulse, but it's like, it's pretty okay. I'm not hating it. I am quite enjoying it. Why have I revealed all my secrets now? I fear that there would be no riveting banter left to pass the time. It's like cute, isn't it, in a way? I don't even really know. Apart from the fact that he says good girl. You know? That's it. That's it. We wish to stay the hand of maddening silence for as long as we can, do we not? Fine, we do. Maybe I can ask you about simpler things. I retrieved the small charcoal scrap I found on my first night of exploring, holding it up for him to see. I found this under some curtains. What can you tell me about it? Is that? Lucius moves towards me and halts mid-step. His hands linger in the air between us as if the scrap is a loaf of bread and he hasn't had a meal in weeks. The intensity of his reaction compels me to stand and turn. After a moment of hesitation, I gently set it into his palm. Lucius practically cradles the scrap, his fingers passing reverently over the smudged charcoal. I just thought I was being helpful by tidying up a spot you missed. I was going to tease you about it. You actually recognize it? I do. His demeanour had completely changed, almost to an unrecognisable degree. His stooped shoulders don't resemble the rigid, dry, humid vampire I'd come to know. Then again, I hadn't taken the time to know him until tonight. His breaths he breathes out with shuddering difficulty, as if his lips have gone dry, but slowly he begins to speak again. I ripped it to shreds one night. I was so angry back then. The night I arrived. No, this was a very long time ago. This was a portrait of someone I once knew. I shake my head when he starts to hand the scrap back to me. You don't need to give it back, Lucius. It was yours to begin with. Unless you ripped the drawing because you hate the person depicted, do you not want it anymore? Lucius avoids my eyes, though he tucks the scrap carefully in his pocket. A pointed question. Humans really do prefer black and white thinking, don't they? He's referring to me by my mortality again rather than my name. It's complicated then, a sore subject, yes. His snappy tone makes me flinch, but I hold my ground and refuse to let it show. Because how can hatred persist in a vacuum of eternity? Once anger is finished, ransacking what remains of your soul, all that's left is exhaustion. Lucius narrows his eyes at me. How would you know such a thing? I gave him an innocent little shrug. I'm not ready to change the topic to myself because I find myself genuinely wanting to know more about him. Lucius regards me for a while longer, tapping his finger against his collarbone before he relents with a sigh. I see no reason to keep the secret from you. The portrait depicts the reigning monarch who exiled me. Here, over 300 years ago, Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. Oh. I'd suspected we'd both been punished by members of the royal family, but no. But to have it confirmed. My mind races and I bite my lip. I didn't want to upset him any further with poorly timed questions. Carry on asking whatever you like, within reason I will indulge your curiosity. My questions burst from me like water from a long-suffering dam. How did you come upon such a portrait? I hear it's illegal to depict the faces of a royal family in commons artwork. Just having one in your possession, it's an open act of rebellion, isn't it? His lips lift on one side, taking on a smudge edge. I'm well aware. What further punishment do you think the current crown can bestow upon me if they find out? Perhaps they'll banish me to a different estate? Or perhaps they'll stop sending me guests, hoping in vain that I'll dry up like a prune from lack of blood and attention? To answer your question, I described her face to an artist from memory. So you've seen her, you knew her from before. What did you do to Queen Hildegard? Did you break into her wine cellar? Or were you her former lover? She exiled you when she caught you in bed with another? Disgusting, no. We were never first involved. Besides, I prefer to take one partner at a time. Juggling two seems taxing at best. I love how she just jumped to that. But based on your logic, on what you said when you met me, you must have committed a crime so deeply, grievously, utterly heinous to have been sent here, am I wrong? It has been a long time since I last felt like I was sitting in a confessional booth. I don't miss the glimpse of amusement that dances across these other... Beautiful. Alright, let's minimize that so it doesn't interfere with anything. Wait, what are you doing? No. Oh god. No. No. What is even going on here? Right, do I have to change anything? No, good. It like changed the size of my window and I was like, please do not change this. You really must get indoors. Come, I'll walk with you. You'll not be beset by distant screams, while I am by your side. Yes, alright, let's get indoors. How about a hint then? A hint about what you're still thinking about is you're insatiable. It's one of my most charming personality traits. Come on, let's trade hints about why we're here, what crimes we commit. She's like, yo, let's be crime buddies, you know? Will you go first? I will go first. He seems satisfied with that, though he also decides to occupy his hands with a cleaning cloth. I watch him clean every surface he touches like a whirlwind of sanitization. He tends to settle into one of the various lounge chairs during our nightly performance, but without the backdrop of my music, I notice he seldom likes to hold still. While I'm waiting on your hint, I haven't come up with the hint yet. I glance down at my lute and songwriting journal, trying to remember what it was like when I first held them in my hand. I remember how jealous the other girls were when our overseer chose to train me as an entertainer. It was a coveted position and I was so proud. I remember the crushing disillusionment when I realized they would never allow me to play or to speak freely, the strict and flexible lessons where they rapped my knuckles with a cane for the slightest mistake. I remember how I swore that one day I'd say and do whatever the hell I wanted, damn the consequences. You already know that I have a dogged penchant of speaking my mind, Lucius. I grew up in a stifled home where the attitude was deeply discouraged. Once I broke free of them, I didn't want to hold myself back. I was drawn to everything I couldn't do while I was growing up. I wanted to see the world, and I did. There are times I've been relentless, unreasonable, and careless, all in the name of acting freely. It's gotten me into trouble more than once. Being sent here is the latest in the long line of consequences I brought upon myself. I see you grew up among people who wanted to break your spirit and punish you when you did not bend. Your stifled home you describe sounds a lot like an Elevanian one. You'd have much in common with the children here. More than you know, I bite the inside of my cheek, taking a moment to weigh my options. As far as I can tell, he has been honest with me. Should I not be honest with him in turn? Lucius, I'm from here. I'm from Illuvia. What? So you do know all of Illuvia's beliefs and customs, yet the way you act and carry yourself is in spite of them? It seems we are both rather insolent, you and I. They should have given you credit for turning out as entertaining as you are. I didn't act this way to spite them, not intentionally. I ran away at a young age and haven't returned in years. I suppose I've shared what little Illuvanian manners I had. But if you'd left to see the world, why in heaven did you come back? Don't you now owe me a hint? A hint? He echoes me, folding his arms in front of his chest. He finally ceased cleaning, or perhaps ran out of things to clean and has settled into his usual velvet chase. A hint about what I did to end up here. Lucius aims his face at the ceiling, as if he could see the stars through it if he stared hard enough. I don't think I did anything wrong, Guna. You don't? After I made myself vulnerable, told him where I'm from, and detailed the shortcomings of my personality, the nerve! What does that even mean? You don't think you did anything wrong? How does this qualify as a hint? That doesn't... I falter as I notice that Lucius isn't arguing with me or even looking my way. Will you play me the song you were practicing outside, Kuno? I fear we did not have all the time in the world. I would be forced to return to my coughing before long. Forced, you say it as if you can't sleep in a bed with the curtains drawn shut. I would if I could. I dearly miss sleeping in a bed. Wait, you actually can't sleep in a bed? Why not? Questions. Despite his griping, Lucius does not leave me in suspense. Vampires are prone to compulsions. Universally, they cannot enter one's home without an invitation, and they cannot set foot across running water. I hear some vampires are even compelled to count spilled seeds and grains or to count the holes in a fishing net. I have an additional compulsion, a curse courtesy of Her Majesty Hildegard Edgehaven. When she had me exiled, she also used sorcery to bind me to a coffin. I cannot stray far from it lest my insides twist upon themselves, strangling me from within. Wow, this woman is evil. The first night I resisted the coffin's call and slept in a separate chamber. I awoke vomiting blood. Naturally, this is far from ideal. I need to retain all the blood I have. I agree. You asked me if I hate the subject in the portrait. Whilst it's true that my anger has faded into exhaustion, I still find her abdominal. She knew how I despised tight spaces. That's terrible. Terrible enough for us to move onto your nightly performance. Yes, of course, forgive me. Clear my throat, brushing my fingers over my neck. What are you doing now? Is that where you'd like me to bite you? I yanked my hand away from my neck as if I touched a hot pan. Lucius. I jest. If I bit you there, you would die from blood loss. Though I would bite you if you asked it of me. Are you so certain that you're not interested in eternal life? You keep talking like a man who no longer wants to hear a song. Lucius raises his hands in surrender, though I catch sight of his shoulders still quaking from amusement. Okay, Rhythm and Rain. Right, I want to see how many chapters this has. Alright, alright. Ballads at Midnight. Night chapters. Let's see. How many chapters? It's not telling me. Bruh. Let's see. Oh, my eyes, they burn. Let's see. So, character design, people have rated it, basically. But I want to know how many chapters it has. Main character. Final thoughts. I mean, I feel like it's not bad, it's pretty fun. I just want to know how much, okay, so walkthrough and achievement guide. Except, oh lol, I didn't get all the achievements. I didn't want to cuss out a vampire, that's why. Okay. Oh wait, lol. You can, so do you know when you enter your name, you can input Lucius with a capital L and press enter twice, and you get a thing, spots it, and says your name is Lucius. Oh, you get like an award for that. That's hilarious. Oh, but we did get by the default name one. Okay, so you can skip, love, save, load, save. Right, I just want to know the amount of chapters it has, you know? I don't even know, how would you ask that? Amount chapters in game, because I think I'm gonna end it shortly because I'm hungry. And I feel like my stomach's gonna growl. I know. Wait, I'm gonna save the game. Let's save it. There we go. Alright, and then we're gonna return. Wait. Settings. I'm gonna quit. Yeah. There we go. And then I can show you. Opera. Okay, there. This is the thing, and I've been watching YouTube. So sometimes our preconceptions can be completely off the mark. I just want to know. Wait, I'm gonna check the night light's on, but my eyes are still dying. I don't think that gave us any. Wait, here, let's see. Questions? Okay, I agree. Stuck in the game. I don't think. How would people. There's no questions. There's no questions, guys. Overview. Come on. I just want to know the amount of chapters. Because we're at chapter 5. Chapter list. Shall we do that? Chapter list. Let's go. Achievement guide. Synopsis. Characters. Lucius. Love interest. I told you. Features, enemies to lovers, found family. What? Found family? Bonding through shared trauma, and even more of your favorite relationship tropes. Through trauma. Beautiful. Boy, they love to argue. Beautiful sprite and original music. More than 42,000 words, around 3 to 4 hours per playthrough. Oh my god. Oh god. That's a lot. Not me crying at 1 a.m. TT. I was so happy with the freedom ending. Oh, that's so cute. I honestly hope that my two people get together. That's what we're hoping. Okay. We're gonna just fall in love with Lucius. Wait, what? Oh my god. Kiss out of... That's what I meant. Oh god, that's bad. Oh wait, shall we like, once we've completed it, shall we just try and get all the achievements? Although, I feel like the name was gonna take 2 times because, you know, we've got to do Lucius and the F word. Ballads. I just want, like, I don't even understand. It's not even telling me. I don't even know how to ask. Ballads at Midnight. Chapters. Wait, let's see. So, game review. I feel like. Alright, so let's see, chapter 6. Alright, chapter 6. Oh my god, okay, we're just gonna, we can just like, figure this out another time. Oh, lol. You saw nothing. Literally. Nothing, okay? Nothing. But no, I'm probably gonna just get something to eat. I don't know why I'm hungry. I literally ate before I started streaming. Oh well, I'm gonna make a mud cake. But no, I'm sorry guys, I haven't been streaming much. I'm definitely gonna get back into it. I wanted to stream yesterday, but do you know where you just keep putting it off and you're just like, ah. So I'm glad that I finally did it again because I missed it. And I enjoy playing games, but it's just like finding a bunch, isn't it? I have a few, but because I also got this other one called My Therapy. Yeah, and Needy Streamer. I got the Needy Streamer Overload, and after I got it, I saw like a few other YouTubers doing it, and I was like, oh my god. And then I was watching Alban, I believe, from Niji Sanji, and it was so funny, and I was just like, wait a minute, what? Because I didn't realize all the options in the game until I watched that stream, and now that I know, now you know, you've seen it. Yeah, I definitely will stream that, but I have played it too. I keep I keep getting left on like day 7, I think is the day, or day like 9, I don't even know, and it's really annoying because she just ups and leaves, and you're just like, I've already given you enough attention, okay? Like, I cannot give you any more. You need to do a YouTube, like, not a YouTube video, you need to stream, man, okay? You gotta pay that rent. He's like, no, attention. Or I walk out of here and you're just like, oh, god damn it. But no, I've been getting frustrated at that. And I've literally tried it like 6 times just to try and get through that day, and I cannot. I keep getting further, like I keep getting to night and then she's gone, I'm gone. But no, I think it's because I should have streamed more in like the earlier days, so if I do stream that, we'll do it from, like, obviously we're gonna do it from the beginning, but hopefully it goes better. Otherwise I'm gonna be getting really frustrated at the game. Because it is fun, but it's like also just like, oh man, why? But no, it should be fun.